today's tale, she's just going over just a few of my general tips and tricks for a railway empire. So the very first tip I have is build your own tracks. Right at the start of the game, you generally don't have a lot of money, right? And if I was to build a couple of stations and a bunch of track, right? Say I wanted a station from here to here. And I went, okay, cool, I've afforded my 2 stations. Now let's bust down the track, right? And suddenly the game tries to build this crazy ass bridge system. It goes, okay, this is what you really need. And you go, well, I can't afford basically a $200,000 bridge, right? So you go, well, that really sucks. But if I build this track myself, and I see how under incline it says 1%, 0%. The computer basically tries to grind down all the terrain to give you the least amount of incline here, right? But you can accept incline if you want to. So all you do is you build a smaller bit of track, and you come up to here and you go, cool, this is getting fairly cheap. I don't have a lot of incline. But then we get to this hill, right? And we're like, oh no, we're going to have to eat some incline. If I'm built down here, it builds a bunch of earthworks, right? But if I build at this slowly, it tends to give you the incline and put down your tracks instead of building a whole lot of earthworks, right? Which, when you're dirt poor, is a lot better. Obviously, the train's going to run a lot harder on this track, but it's better. I find it's better to be able to get down at least some track rather than nothing. Here, it's going to be like, yo, you cannot eat a 20% incline, right? It's alright, I'll eat that, sir. I will eat that indeed. So if you build a lot shorter track here, we should get to, we're building in the wrong direction, but if we actually built in the correct direction, we'd get to here for a fraction of the price. Now obviously, if you've got the money, building straight's fine, right? But if you don't have the money, I find some of the challenges, you get shorted pretty badly on the amount of money you start with. Even in some of the campaign maps, right? You don't get a whole lot of money. And you go, well, I need more track than I need faster trains. So you can build something like that, right? And you don't have to care. Whereas if I were to go, if you want to build out of here, my friend, if you want to build out of here, come on. Whereas if I was to go straight, this would cost me a fairly huge packet, right? 200,000 more, which is crazy when you can't afford this sort of stuff. So that's my first one. The other one is in some of the campaign missions, you want to buy up whatever's in the city. So say, I think there's one where you have to build a whole lot of meat, right? There's only 2 ways to do it. Either the city is big enough and you get in quick enough to build a bit of real estate here. Otherwise, if you know you're going to move into the city and you know you're going to be producing this stuff and you've got the money, it's generally pretty good to buy up the industry before you start giving it anything. Because as soon as you start giving it things, they start making a profit and they start upgrading themselves and they get worth a lot more. Whereas if you come up here and you buy this before we give them any cattle, it's going to be a lot cheaper, right? We can buy this for 166,000 compared to, say, if we let this guy have a whole lot of cattle for a year, he'd probably be worth in the 400,000 mark. Worst case scenario, suddenly he's worth a whole lot more. The other things is, don't forget to upgrade places when you can. So when you're throwing a whole lot of cattle at it, don't forget to keep upgrading it so it at least eats up a whole lot more. Also, that's the same for if you're supplying things out here. This guy here, he's only level 1. I could happily buy him now for pretty cheap. Whereas if I was to suddenly build a bunch of tracks to him, start taking grain from here, he might get to level 2, he might get to level 3, and he'll be worth maybe $1 mil, $2 mil. I've seen up to $4 mil, you know, so it gets a little rough. Whereas if you know you're going to go there, especially early on in the game, if you know you're going to go here, buy them out, at least start making your money from them straight away, because as soon as they start making profits, they will jam you. The other thing to remember is they are still making a profit. They might only be putting out 42% of their stuff, but they're actually transporting it anyway. So this stuff is traveling around the map. They are making a profit, so they will sometimes get more expensive if they're close to a place. If they're a million miles away, they tend not to. Like if this cattle place had nowhere to shove its cattle, they would start to get cheaper and cheaper till they maybe sold themselves. That is another point as well. Say you've been supplying this guy into the city here for maybe a year or two, and you suddenly decide, hey, I really need to buy this place. You can actually starve them. So what you do is you just turn off your train, right? Suddenly they're producing a whole lot of stuff that they can't dump into the market anymore, and they will slowly get cheaper and cheaper. They'll start downgrading their place, and you'll be able to afford it much easier. There's one map where I did that, and basically you got to make, I think, automobiles. Now, I was already supplying the place because it was part of my mission to supply them with steel and gasoline. But all I did was I ended up starving them of, later on I ended up starving them of steel and gasoline so that I could buy them up. So they went from about, I think, 4 mil down to pretty reasonable 2 mil or 1 mil, which saves a fair chunk of money, right? And then suddenly you can just turn all your trains back on, you can just put them all back on the line, and your factory is now making all that money. Some of the other tips I have is managing your trains. So I've got to fix up these tracks just quickly. I like to build a lot of these double stations so that you can double track your stuff. And then we can get a couple of trains into this baby. So I've got a 2-track and a 4-track, right? Just to simulate a couple of things here. We're going to get ourselves a train. So we're going to get one from here over to Dallas. And I know Dallas has 4 tracks, right? And I'm only using a track here on one side, and I want to use a couple of tracks on this side. So this is why I should have doubled down my track, right? So a train can come in this way, and it can go out this way, right? If I want to. We need to stick some signals on this baby as well. So you, sir, can come in from here. You can go back out this way. We can get a couple of signals down here. Oh, you, sir, are not going the correct direction. Can we delete you? Can we delete you? Yep. That's cool. There we go. That one's kind of annoying. He shouldn't be there, but we have to just deal with some ugliness. Actually, we won't. I will delete that. So here, I've doubled up some tracks, right? If I don't put this bendy section in, the whole thing won't work. So if I don't put in this little bit of track right here on both sides, then the trains won't be able to go to the other tracks, and the whole thing won't work. As soon as you put these down, you can then start making trains go from here to here, down the double sides. And if we add a locomotive here, we'll get the old diesel here. We'll go from here to here again. And say I want to park some trains in Dallas. I want to use track 4. Yes, please. Go for it. And then if we double this guy out and we click on the tracks here, we should be able to see him in a sec. We'll grab this one. So we know that 1 is going to track 4. If we manage this guy here and we go, no buddy, go to track 3, then we can fit a lot more trains into these stations. If you don't manage this yourself, then what happens is most of these trains will wait for the same track and you'll get absolutely stuffed. So we could probably get a couple of these babies out. Let's go for another one here. We'll duplicate you. And it doesn't update automatically, so you do have to grab it yourself. And we'll manage this guy. So instead of going to track 4, we'll go to track 1. So now we should have trains that will stop at track 4, track 3, and track 1. And that'll leave out track 2 for whatever trains are going on this side. Alternatively, we could stick all 4. We could buy another train and stick them into here and sort of cram up the station a little bit more if we wanted to. The other thing is you can build express trains, right? But your express trains, say I wanted, here I've got some tracks, ignore this, say I didn't have this right, and I wanted a train that was making sugar from here. I built it to go through Dallas and over to here, right? Now, instead of going through Dallas and congesting up a bit of track, we could build a little bit of a side track like this, right? So this way we can avoid waiting on the Dallas congestion, and we can go up and around Dallas. And I've built a couple of signals here. I'll show the signals. Just to show what's going on. This guy actually needs to go back a bit. And he needs to be quite possibly, where do you need to be? You need to be over here. And then we need some tracks coming in over here. Bam. You do have to be careful with all this stuff because you do start getting further and further away from the station. But now we can have a train that will come in from this direction, go around here, come back around this, flick onto the other side of the tracks and go back, right? We do have to do a little bit of work for this though. So I'll show you what you have to do to make him use that other side. So we'll buy this guy. And we'll set up a rail from over here to here, right? And we go bam. And we go, okay, cool. So he's gonna, what are you gonna do, buddy? What are you gonna do? You are gonna go through Dallas. Wow, that really sucks. I built this sidetrack for you, but hey, bam, waypoint 1, up you go. Oh, he's still going back. Bam, waypoint 2, and now instead of queuing up for our Dallas track here, he will now take this side route. So we can have a train coming in from here to Dallas, and we can have this train avoiding Dallas and coming back. So we get no sort of queue times in Dallas, right? So that's another nice way to at least manage your places there. The other thing is also managing stations. So you think that when I started out, right, I was like, wow, I'll build a small station and it'll do a thing, right? I'll be like, oh yeah, cool, I'll build a small station here, and I'll be like, oh cool, so we'll then hook them onto the train line, and we'll hook him on so he can actually go both ways. And we'll give him some signals. You go that way, you queue here. Alright, so now he can go both ways, right? But now I want to upgrade this train, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I've got this track here, I'll just build another track from over here. The way the stations work is they actually extend out their tracks on this side. So I'll show you. So where's my other, let's say I built, you want to build me another small station somewhere? Alright, we'll build a small station. Which side have I got you on? We'll build a small station here, and we'll build our tracks here. Okay, and now I go, oh yeah, cool, I will double you out, right? Because I'm putting a few trains through this line. I need to expand this station out. And I go, damn it, those tracks are now on the wrong side. Because how am I going to do this? Like, all I can get to is, come on, get out of here. All I can get to is this side of the tracks, right? I can't get to this side because now I have to jump over, do some messy stuff. The way the track expansion works on these stations is it always pushes away from where the station is, right? So if I actually deleted this guy, and we'll delete down some of your tracks. Can we get a marker here? If I actually put the station, instead of putting it this away, if I actually put the station this away, then now when we do the track expansion, we should be good to go. So we've got our little tracks all connected up, like so. And we go, wow, I need to expand you out. And I go, bam. And suddenly, the tracks are on the right side, right? So you just got to remember, when I started out playing this, I was like, this really sucks. I don't understand why the tracks keep going on the wrong side here. And I was like, damn. And then suddenly it dawned on me, whichever side your station is on is the side. So if I upgrade this guy again, he's got 2 sets of tracks here. Suddenly he'll have another set of tracks on the other side, right? So he just keeps pushing them further and further away from wherever your station is. It helps a whole lot. You can also get some really crazy things going on. So I've got a single track going in here, right? But suddenly I wanted to build a huge amount of sidelings, right? I wanted to go, wow, I need I need doubles into doubles because I am just throwing trains at this sort of this bit of track here, right? And I go, how am I gonna do this? So one of the easiest ways is you've got your first single track stuck on here, right? This guy can go from here, he can come across, right? And suddenly you're like, okay, but I need another one. So generally what I build is I build the crossing tracks first, and then I will build on my second one here, right? So this guy actually needs to be going this way. And I go, how is my train from here? You know, how's he going to deal with this, all this weird stuff, if this guy's a double? So how's he going to deal with this, right? So all I could do is I'm going to come down and I build on my second bit of track, which goes, where'd you go, sir? Over here. We'll dump this one because we need to build a little motivation track to cross over into, actually, which way are we going? So we're going this way. He can come this way. This guy is going to connect up. Yep. So that's all I need is for this bit to come back. Come here, baby. Get rid of that. Come on down. Bam, and on. And then we can build out our signals like so. And whey, we have suddenly a whole lot of crossing tracks, right? But it works out. So all this guy's going to do is a bunch of them are going to queue up on this thing. We'll put down a bunch of these. So a bunch of them will queue up here. This guy can hop on this track. This guy will then go here, dump his load, come all the way back and use this crossing track here, right? To cross over and come on through. Trains going either way will wait. So if there's another train coming this way and suddenly this track here is full, he'll stop here. This guy's coming along, he'll go, well, this guy wants to get across, he'll stop here. And it is a nice way to get a double onto a double. You do have to be aware that congestion's obviously going to start kicking your butt a little. I have seen it quite a lot. So if I want to do a train from, we're going to have to fix this up just a little. From here to here. And we'll have to get some signals. So we want you to stop here. We're okay with you leaving here. So you do have to remember that there's trains. These guys will probably be taking just the one station here. So we'll see what station this guy is going to hop into. And we will try to avoid that station. Even though we have a whole bunch of them going over here. So he's going to fling into here. So whichever track this is, if we have a scroll over it, it should tell us. No, you don't want to tell me? Alright, we'll fix that in a second anyway. We'll add a locomotive here. We'll go from Jenkins to here. We can see that this guy wants to come in here, so we will just edit him to go in on track 2. Just to avoid the congestion. So you kind of have to make sure that you manage your trains and the stations they come in on. Otherwise, the 4 that are doing from Dallas to here, they're all going to track 1. If you don't do this, then the multiples that you make from here, they're all going to try and take track 1 as well, right? And suddenly, all your trains are all jamming into track 1. So if we double some of these out, we should now be able to fit a bunch of these babies onto the same station, right? Whereas if I didn't do any of the management work here, if I didn't manage this guy to take track 2, then suddenly we would all be parked up waiting for track 1. So one of the big tips is just to manage your trains and the station that they really want to wait on. You see this even bigger impact on these 4 stations here, because everybody kind of tries to wait for the same station, and it really just craps up your trains, right? They all queue up and they all go, oh, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on at all. The other thing you can do is this guy can actually get to, if we add a locomotive here, not you, if we set up a rail here, we can actually go from here to here. So what the train will do is he should go from here, he will hit this station. He will then turn around. When they're in a station, they can actually turn around in the station and then go back down this way. And then he'll hop over here. So if we follow him a little, he should hop into... We might need to manage him, otherwise he's going to have a heart attack when he gets here. Is that not the right train? Oh, nope, it's not. It's you, isn't it? It is you. Sure is. The other thing is if you want to see what trains are on these tracks, if you click on the track itself, it'll give you whatever's on this track. So see how we've got everything? That's because mostly we've got trains on this track. But if we come over here and we click on this one, we can just see what trains are going to be utilizing this track, which is nice. So this is us here, right? From Jenkins to Dallas. Where are you? So there he goes. He flips over in the station. He should now go back this way. So you can get some weird things happening when you start to use this double track. Instead, you'd probably want to branch a singular track off this way. Of course, you'd have to pre-plan for this. The alternative would be I'd probably go back this way and double end this station. If I was going to double end this station, I would maybe throw a signal probably here if it was a singular train. If I was going to take double tracks this way, the directional signals obviously do plenty of work for you, and all these trains are going to complain. And that is it for my tips and tricks for railway empires. Good luck, and hopefully you don't get as many jam ups as I do. Hey guys, thanks again for watching. If you like what you've seen, hit that subscribe button or leave me a comment on anything you want to see in the future.